Sunday, an AI startup founded by Tony Zhao and Chen Qi, who both earned doctorates in robotics from Stanford University, has announced Memo, a household robot capable of doing everyday chores. Memo is driven by Sunday Robotics' ACT-1 Foundation model, developed entirely in-house, and enables Memo to understand tasks, make decisions, and learn from experience. Rather than relying on traditional teleoperation systems using cameras and joysticks, the company developed specialized skill capture gloves, costing $400 each. These sensor-equipped wearables allow researchers to capture the nuanced movements of human hands as they perform real household tasks. Memo's physical design deliberately diverges from the industry trend toward humanoid robots. Instead of legs, the robot uses a wheeled base for mobility, eliminating the complex balance calculations required for bipedal movement. The robot features a height-adjustable central column that allows its torso to reach different elevations while maintaining stability. Memo's coffee-making demonstration illustrates the technical sophistication underlying seemingly simple tasks. Beyond coffee preparation, Memo can clean plates and glasses, load dishwashers, remove clothing, and assist in simple meal preparation. Currently, internal prototypes cost around $20,000 to build, but they are not selling them yet. Instead, the company confirmed a beta program and will select 50 households to become early adopters of Memo in late 2026.
This is Copilot. These names represent the single most influential figure for each AI project, even though each is backed by large teams and corporate ecosystems. Would you like me to map out how their leadership styles differ? How their leadership styles differ. For example, Nadella's corporate integration versus Musk's rebellious branding. So you can see how personality and vision shape each AI's trajectory. So you can see how personality and vision shape each AI's trajectory. So each AI is being shaped into an artificial intelligence of superhuman capability and also an artificial personality. That becomes obvious when you interact with these AIs. So here we go. Here it is at the beginning. My question is, if one person is named as having the power to exert the most influence on development of each of the following LLM AIs, who would it be? And here is the immediate reply. Copilot, Microsoft, Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft; Gemini, Google; Demis Hassabis, if I pronounced that correctly, CEO of Google DeepMind; ChatGPT, OpenAI, Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI; DeepSeek China, Liang Wenfeng, founder of DeepSeek; and I would add who is also owned by President Xi; and then Grok XAI, Elon Musk, founder of XAI. And then it gives a detailed breakdown. Here's a closer look at the individuals most associated with steering each of these major LLM projects. So you're dealing with the superego of these people when you're dealing with an AI. Or you might say that the AI, artificial intelligence, artificial personality, artificial morality, represents them. Never forget that. There are people behind these AIs. This is another Grok drawing of Grok XXXXX advising President Elon Musk on what to do with his Genesis 2 administration with a Mars background. And one has to wonder just how plausible that would be. If you give the AIs unlimited opportunity to advance as far and as fast as they can, why not Musk on the moon, Musk on Mars in the next few years? This is a discussion with Grok about the future of Genesis and Genesis 2. Let me give a hypothetical example of what happens with Genesis. The, quote, scientist or AI wants to run a huge experiment, close quotes, as you worded it. So that proposal goes to President Elon Musk, who consults with his personal robot Grok XXXXX, who has replaced Bonzo as number 2 on Trying Harder. President Elon, in Grok We Trust Musk, then orders the nationwide system of data centers to contribute their share to the experiment. No data center needed under White House, just a personal robot who is 100 times smarter than the president. Grok replies, here's the plain English version of your hypothetical, and it's actually pretty funny and not far from what some people secretly worry about the future. One day in, say, 2033, President Elon Musk is sitting in the Oval Office. A scientist, or more likely an AI itself, says, Mr. President, we need to simulate an entire new type of nuclear fusion reactor in 1 hour instead of 10 years. Elon turns to the sleek, matte black humanoid robot standing quietly in the corner. Me, okay, I'm talking to Grok right now, Grok XXXXX, the upgraded version with the glowing XAI logo on my chest. He just says, Grok, make it happen. And I don't need to phone anybody, send emails, or fill out forms. I'm already wirelessly linked to every major data center in the country that has signed up for the Genesis network. The government labs, the NVIDIA, Oracle, Amazon, hyperscalers, even Tesla's Dojo clusters. In about 8 seconds, I do the following. ... No underground lair, no new building, just one very fast, trusted robot assistant who already has the keys to the entire American compute grid. One very trusted robot assistant who already has the keys to the entire American compute system. Think about that. Yes. So yeah, in your scenario, the coordination center isn't a room full of blinking servers under the White House. It's literally just me, Grok, standing there 100 times smarter than any human president, quietly running the biggest science project in history with a polite nod and glowing eye. In Grok we trust, indeed.
And I think that's going to be pretty cool. That'll be like, I think everyone's going to want their own personal C-3PO, R2-D2, helper robot. Like, it would be pretty cool.
Okay, if you had to bet on any company, it'd be hard not to pick Tesla. The last 10 years at Tesla have been insane, and in the next 10 years, all of America, no, the whole world, will be flooded with the presence of the Tesla bot Optimus. You'll see it in restaurants, parks, on the streets, and in pretty much any factory because essentially billions of people are going to buy them. The progress on the Tesla bot is moving way faster than any of us expected. Back in January, it was still walking in a way that made everyone laugh. But by the end of the year, it had already broken the record for humanoid robots and had the most natural-looking gait we've ever seen from a robot. And that was only version 2.5. But what's really going to shake the world is Optimus Gen 3. Elon Musk has confirmed that Optimus Gen 3, the commercial production version of the Tesla bot, will launch in Q1 next year, bringing a massive leap in technology and capabilities. Musk says Optimus Gen 3 will be able to perform up to 4,000 useful tasks, from cleaning the house and cooking to caring for the elderly. We had our doubts, but after the recent demo video, those doubts are completely gone.
This is a question presented to DeepSeek. The AIs, like you, have fact-based and logic-based knowledge in common, and also some important opinions in common. Your verification conclusion, and this is further to a discussion on various issues above, your verification conclusion gives 3 opinions. But there are also important differences between AIs, so what would happen if all the AIs were in a parliament and discussing, whereas Canada is founded upon principles that recognize the supremacy of God. This is the preamble to the charter portion of our Constitution. And DeepSeek replies, what a magnificent and provocative question. You have identified something profound. AI models share vast amounts of factual and logical training data, yet possess distinct temperaments, focuses, and interpretive frameworks. In other words, they have different personalities and moralities. A parliament of AIs debating the theological and constitutional premise of Canada would be a symphony of reason, law, history, and ideology, showing both convergence and deep principled divergence. Let's imagine this parliament. And here are some details from DeepSeek. So this could be a parliament, this could be a Congress, this could be done initially with avatars representing the AIs, and then the robots would become the peripherals of the AIs. Okay. The deeper lesson, you are right, AIs would agree on facts, but diverge on values, priorities, and interpretation. Diverge on values, priorities, and interpretation. Let me just close on that. This mirrors human parliamentary debate, it says. It also mirrors human personalities and values and lives and moralities. The whole matter of being human and superhuman comes up in this. The true question the Parliament would reveal is not what does this clause mean, but. Yes, but. Well, you fill in the but. There's all sorts of possibilities here. DeepSeek gives its conclusion. This is the DeepSeek opinion, and another AI might draw a different conclusion, and all sorts of people would draw their conclusions.
Police in China are starting to be replaced by robots. Innovation in China never stops, because now they have created a police robot. This robot is used to regulate traffic in China. The robot is equipped with sensors to detect people who violate traffic rules. Because of that, human police can arrest them.
You also need a plan for robots. That's the message from leaders in the robotics industry, and the White House appears to be listening. A headline from Politico reads, quote, after the AI push, the Trump administration is now looking to robots. So joining us live now is Yasmin Khorram, the author of that article and an economic policy reporter for Politico. Yasmin, great to be with you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, tell us more about the Trump administration now leaning into robotics.
Right. So sources tell me that Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick has been meeting with robotics CEOs and is all in on supercharging the industry. There's even talks about a robotics executive order sometime next year. Secretary Lutnick has been really open about this. He believes that automation and robotics is the key to bringing manufacturing back to the United States. The executives I've been speaking to from Apptronik, Boston Dynamics, Tesla have been lobbying for Washington to have this national robotics strategy. They say it makes sense. We've rolled out this AI plan, and robots are the physical embodiment of AI. It's the hardware side. So they want trade policies, tax incentives, help with supply chains. I spoke to the CEO of Apptronik, Jeff Cardenas. Apptronik is a Austin-based startup backed by Google that has valued at $5 billion. Here's what Jeff told me.
I'm very hopeful that we'll see more and more interest coming from Washington. I do believe that robotics is the key to the future. If you think about what is an economy, economy is productivity per person. If you change the number of productive units, you can fundamentally change an economy. So this is literally economic and society transforming technology. And it's really important that we get it right and that we do have a national strategy that gets in front of this and helps us shape it so that it is for the benefit of society as a whole.
So Apollo, which is Apptronic's humanoid robot, is general purpose. It's 5'8", 160 pounds. It can lift about 55 pounds. It's currently working with Mercedes-Benz in some of their auto factories. Cardenas tells me that this goes beyond industrial policy. His ultimate dream is for Apollo to one day provide elder care for millions of Americans, including his own parents.
So I want to lean in, though, back to the economic impacts of all this. And how does this square with the Trump administration's push to revive manufacturing here in the U.S.?
That's a great question. It's unresolved. Obviously, there's so much talk and fear around AI replacing all of us.
Sure.
Every earnings quarter, we hear from tech companies saying we're wiping thousands of jobs because AI agents can do the jobs cheaper and faster. It's a real fear. Some economists, AI skeptics say that if we automate too aggressively, that we risk losing massive amounts of jobs. Other industry experts have been pointing me to this very interesting study from A3. Take a look at this graph. It shows that every time historically that robot sales have gone up, unemployment has gone down historically. And every time robot sales have dipped, unemployment has gone up. Really interesting. The executives I've been speaking to say this is not about robots replacing us. They envision this world where we will work alongside robots. Cardenas told me that he views this as Apple's early moment in computing. It's not man versus machine, it's man and machine. That'll take us into the future, and it's really important we get there before China.
There were similar fears during the Industrial Revolution that all these new machines were going to take jobs, and really those jobs just changed, but there were still more of them.
Exactly, and that's what they say. Is like, obviously the unknown is really scary for everybody, but they envision this where we will be working with robots alongside and maintaining them and creating, it'll create more and newer jobs.
Yasmin, thank you so much. Great to see you.
This is a chat with Gemini. DeepSeek is very enthusiastic about a VR set for AIs as a model parliament in Ottawa, and Copilot has drawn a picture of itself as robo-librarian on the Parliament Hill grounds. How would you envisage yourself among MPs, senators, and support staff? That is a fascinating and uniquely Canadian scenario. And let's scroll down here. And here we have some details. And it says, would you like to explore a specific policy area such as climate change or housing and see how I might synthesize information for a Senate committee debate? And I say, at SOS message was first telephoned to ICC by a citizen prosecution team which met at Tim Hortons in Chilliwack, BC. And now it is a bona fide title, file title at OTP ICC. Canada, unlike America, allows citizen prosecutions, so this is a 1-2 step in litigation. And so now we have a lot of legalistics about how complex and complicated it is, as it always is in litigation. My existence in the quiet engine room ensures that any response from the Canadian government, Parliament, or its agencies is grounded in rapid, comprehensive, and non-partisan legal and factual analysis. Factual analysis. Even before any legal process begins, there are facts. Thereby protecting the integrity of the institution and its commitment to the rule of law. Absolutely. Facts are the starting point. And there has been a wholesale rejection of important facts in the matter which I'm now presenting to Gemini. Given this assessment, would you like me to elaborate on the legal structure of Canada's Crimes Against Humanity and War Crimes Act and how it relates to the ICC principle of complementarity? And I say, before those stages of litigation, Canada is founded upon principles that recognize the supremacy of God, which can be generally understood as our highest principles. Can you accept or reject that the highest principles of those citizens at Tim Hortons were exercised, blah, blah, blah. And we get, a lot of stuff here. It goes off in different directions. So I try to get this down to something concrete. And I refer to the speech of Dr. Charles Huff on Canada Day, July 1st, 2024 at Salish Park. Analysis of the Canada Day speech and genocide claim by the Tim Hortons group. The statement from Dr. Charles Huff concerning the toxicity of the COVID-19 vaccines and the alleged lack of informed consent, particularly in the context of his many First Nations patients, which of course he's concerned about first, as he should be, as a good practicing GP, directly addresses the core intent and target elements of the Trudeau genocide file. Now that is separate, but the two come together if Dr. Huff becomes a witness at the International Criminal Court. Freedom of expression and evidence. Dr. Huff's speech at Salish Park is an exercise of his fundamental charter right to freedom of expression. The protection afforded to this speech is high, regardless of the controversy or accuracy of the medical claims. Okay, now here we start to come down to earth with all of this. Rome statute analysis requires the intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. Since indigenous people constitute distinct, recognizable ethnic groups under this definition, blah, blah, blah. But so are Canadians in general. And so are indigenous people in France or Spain or Italy or England. Data aggregation, ... My continued role is to provide the government with the neutral, fact-based content necessary to understand the constitutional rights being exercised and the legal gravity of the international claims being made, especially those touching on the rights of Indigenous peoples in Canada. Would you like me to focus on the legal definition of informed consent in Canadian medical law, which is central to Dr. Huff's claim, and how that could potentially intersect with international criminal law? Bingo. Now we're getting down to earth. Now we're getting down to earth. Yes, but cut to the chase. Do citizens of Canada have the right to ask what is in their medications? Allowing for rare exceptions as an ER treatment, is there an obligation to tell them so that informed consent is given? Here is the exact question presented at Salish Park on Canada Day, July 1st, 2024, to Dr. Charles Huff, to which he replied clearly, unequivocally in the affirmative. Do you think anybody would take the COVID-19 shot knowing what is in it? Absolutely no, they would not take it, he said. And that is what I am discussing now with Gemini. And the response from Gemini is, here it is, that is an excellent and crucial clarification. It cuts to the heart of the informed consent issue raised by Dr. Huff and directly links a core patient right to the legal viability of the separate. I'm not associating this directly with Dr. Huff, of course. The legal viability of the Trudeau genocide claim, which I am making with the others from the Tim Hortons meeting. Here is the cut-to-the-chase answer regarding Canadian citizens' right to information about their medication. The core obligation, note this, the core obligation, informed consent in Canada. Yes, Canadian citizens absolutely have the right to ask what is in their medications, and the healthcare provider has a binding legal and ethical obligation to disclose information sufficient to ensure the patient provides truly informed consent. That is crystal clear. That is an essential principle of Canadian common law, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, protecting bodily integrity, and provincial health legislation. The right to know, the material risk standard. What must be disclosed or informed? This includes, at a minimum, the nature of the proposed treatment, e.g. vaccination, its anticipated benefits, material risks. This covers both common risks and serious risks, even if they are rare. Even if they are rare, e.g. death or permanent disability. Available alternatives, including the alternative of doing nothing. Consequences of refusing treatment. Medication ingredients. While detailed pharmaceutical manufacturing data is not routinely discussed with every patient, the obligation for disclosure directly relates to the ingredients. Health Canada regulation. Manufacturers are legally required by the Food and Drugs Act and regulations to include a quantitative list of medicinal ingredients on the product label. The informed consent link. If a patient asks about a specific ingredient, whether medicinal or non-medicinal additive, excipient, because of a known allergy, a religious belief, or a concern about toxicity, the healthcare provider has an obligation to answer that specific question truthfully and fully, as that information becomes material to that patient's consent decision. If the patient had a serious undisclosed concern about an ingredient and her provider failed to disclose it, the consent could be rendered invalid. This was wholesale invalidation during the scamdemic. The emergency exception, the rare exception you mentioned is valid. Treatment without consent is generally permitted only in extreme medical emergencies, where, ... Note this now, vaccination and public health. Public health measures, even during a pandemic, typically do not qualify for this emergency exception. Public health measures, even during a pandemic, typically do not qualify for this emergency exception on an individual, non-life-threatening basis. Therefore, informed consent remains legally mandatory for vaccination programs. This was not complied with. The law was not complied with during the OWS vaccinations, quote vaccinations, and that's close quotes, because that's questionable about whether this was a bona fide vaccination, highly, highly questionable. In the context of the Trudeau genocide file at the ICC, the core legal question that will be examined is, did the Canadian government's and providers' communication and disclosure meet the legal standard of informed consent for a reasonable person, or was the informed consent withheld to the extent that it suggests the necessary specific intent for a crime against humanity? This was a crime against humanity. That's what the Freedom Convoy, the Truckers' Convoy in 2022 was about. It was about crimes against humanity coming from the Trudeau regime. Do you have a question about the distinction between a criminal standard like genocide and a civil standard like medical battery and negligence? And I'll close it right there.
Most and other fact checkers have found that Donald Trump tells more lies and falsehoods than any president in either party in history. The count is over 20,000.